So today, yet another end of year focus, and this time we are going to once again probably our last look at Conservative Home for the year of 2023. Because as we always do, and always said when we cover Conservative Home, why we go there. First of all, it is as always a glimpse into the realm of the Conservative reality, what they think, what they are saying. And here's the thing, kind of important to know that. It is really kind of important to know what they are saying, what they are thinking, and how they are doing things. And especially from Conservative Home, who has consistently articles from Conservative MPs in there about what's been going on in the party, the ruptures, the disputes, everything you can think of. Kind of important to sort of pay attention to the Conservative Home. The kind of, unfortunately, very influential. But one of the things that they have done, and one of the things that their cabinet league tables that we've covered very regularly on this channel, has been that it has predicted the rise and fall of many of the up and comers in the Conservative Party, and one in particular, Kimmy Badenoch, because oh my word, we'll be getting into Kimmy Badenoch in a moment, but if you remember last time, it was a two-horse race at that moment in time between her and Penny Mordaunt. And I don't know what particularly happened to the Mordaunt lovers. Maybe maybe it might be a certain other individual that has, shall we say, taken her votes away. I'm not entirely sure. I really don't know what to make of this last table in particular. But um, without further ado, we will be going into that and taking a look at this final cabinet league table and looking at what this could mean going in to, of course, 2024, when it is very likely we will have a general election next year. And oh boy, I cannot wait for those articles to come from Conservative Home during the election and, of course, post-election. Because, oh boy, if the defeat at the local elections was anything to go by, then Conservative Home is going to become the most saltiest cope inducing place I can ever see. And depending on that scale of defeat, I could very well end up in an overdose of copium, just going through the sheer amount of salt that is going to come from Conservative Home if they lose. And depending on the scale of the loss, and it is looking like they are going to lose big, um, there's going to be a lot of salt coming from Conservative Home. But as always, before we do go into this, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button. There's the Pony Club as well down below. And of course, there's the YouTube thank you button, although I think I've already said that as well. And of course, there's Patreon page as well. So, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, on with this. So, this is the Cabinet League table. And honestly, it says it all. Another dismal record broken in our final Cabinet League table. And we'll find out what that record is. But here you can see these are the satisfaction ratings for these cabinet ministers currently. And oh boy, oh boy, this, I tell you now, does not bode well. Because before we even start at the top, we're going to start at the bottom with these two, or should we say these three in particular. Just first of all, Michael Tomlinson. Well, who is Michael Tomlinson? Well, for those who may or may not, this is the new immigration minister. So before he has barely even put his feet, got settled, and, actually started in his ministerial post, he is ranking at minus 27.2. Do you think this shows that, either A, they're really unhappy at Michael Tomlinson even before he's began, and maybe his record isn't as good as they were hoping for initially, or this could very well be just the sheer displeasure at Conservative voters showing their dissatisfaction for the Conservatives' immigration policy. Honestly, it's going to be one of those two things. I'm thinking could certainly be down to their can't even say it, their dissatisfaction, of course, of the current conservative immigration policy. But I will tell you now, yeah, it pretty much tells you, or at least I can predict, that the Conservatives, especially when it comes to probably the next general election, gonna heavily fight it about immigration. Gonna heavily fight it about immigration. So, who else is also plumbing the depths of this? Well, there's Rishi Sunak, minus 26.5, even lower than last time. And bear in mind, when Boris Johnson got to minus 25%, they got rid of Johnson. Like, they got rid of Johnson completely. If you may remember, um, although we weren't covering it at this time, but I'll tell you what happened. Boris Johnson was the top. All the stuff about Partygate comes out, and it just chips away at him again and again and again. He just keeps on falling and falling and falling until minus 25. And then that point, everything kicks off. Boris gets, shall we say, goes to the bunker and sort of refuses to leave at that point before he was finally turfed out of number 10. So I don't know, honestly, um, how Rishi Sunak survives. He has, as we've said before, he has absolutely zero authority as prime minister. He cannot control his own party. He cannot pass any policy without it being severely argued about or almost defeated in some cases. The Rwanda bill, that's going through, that's going to go enter into like its second phase, the negotiating phase in the Commons, um, in the committee rooms. That's going to be a massive fallout that we are going to almost experience straight away. But there is very little chance of them honestly passing that before a potential next general election. But it seems that's what they're going to try and go for. That they're going to try and pass this Rwanda bill and say, look how tough we are on immigration. And in the meanwhile, I don't think it's going to pass. I don't think it's going to pass in the way that they want it to, or at least they would hope it to. And we're going to see those arguments break out over the next couple of months. You can guarantee that. And then, of course, Jeremy Hunt. Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor. It is kind of shocking how long he has managed to survive as Chancellor. It generally is. Because the Tory right in particular, have been gunning for Jeremy Hunt since day one. Since he has time and time again promised, well, we can't do tax cuts. We can't do tax cuts. They've been gunning for him time and time again. Sometimes even trying to find ways to get rid of him, or at least Rishi Sunak to try and push him to get rid of him. That's something we've seen throughout the year. So far, he's managed to survive, very, very much so, by keeping his head down as much as possible. But the other shocker, or not, shall we say, too much of a shocker, is, of course, Cameron. Cameron immediately comes in. He's polling at minus 5.3. So this whole idea of bringing back David Cameron, because, well, quite frankly, who else would you put in the Foreign Office at this point who isn't potentially going to try and stab you in the back? Cameron was the only option. Or at least, well, William Hague, but he refused. Possibly quite good for him as well. But no, he came in and he's instantly polling minus negativity levels here. And it just goes to show you just how bad some of the main ministers here are running. So you've got Cameron, Richard Holden at minus 6, Oliver Dowden at minus 10, Andrew Mitchell at minus 12, Michael Gove at minus 15, and Jeremy Hunt at minus 16. So they are all major cabinet office and positions polling really, really badly. Even James Cleverly polling at minus 10.3. Guy who's in charge of the Home Office, 10.3. He was last time up at the top, if you remember. But who's at the top now? Well, of course, it's still Kimmy Badenoch at plus 63.9. She is well ahead in the polls. Even she made this was kind of funny. They named her Minister of the Year in Conservative Home, to which I have to ask, how? How on earth did Kimmy Badenoch become Minister of the Year? What ministerial achievements has she done to make her Minister of the Year? Conservative Home's answer, oh, it was because she spoke up about trans stuff. That's why she's at the top. Wow, ministerial achievement. Honestly, if she becomes leader, she's not going to do well. She's really not going to do well. And I've pointed out, even other people have pointed out, even other conservatives have pointed it out, that if she were to be in the pressure of the party leadership spot, there are serious concerns that she would not be able to handle herself that well. Very serious concerns. You've also got most of the Tory right who would say, yeah, we don't want you because of how she acted when she said, I'm not going to be an arsonist, and, do what you want and get rid of all these EU laws. To which the EGR turned around and said, you're never going to be leader of this party. I take that threat probably very, very seriously, because obviously during the party leadership elections, it is all about who you can mobilize. And I still do think that they are, during a party leadership election, again, depending on, well, who's left after the, after the trouncing they're probably going to get at the next general election, it is going to be who's left. Penny Mordaunt, still one of the big ones who we suspect probably who's going to put a hat in the ring again. 43.5, sorry. 47.5. She was neck and neck with Badenoch, literally just a couple of points behind her. But I suspect Esha McVey, Minister for Common Sense, polling at 29%. Polling at 30%, sorry. What's she done? She's a minister without a portfolio. She gets a fancy title, again, Minister for Common Sense, again, to try and please the right, because, he got rid of, Suella Braverman. Also, Conservative Home's Backbencher of the Year. Again, really worrying viewing to the Conservative Party point of view, honestly. But yeah, these results, honestly, to round out a year like this, to have Rishi Sunak ending on such a dismal poll rating, and not only that, Michael Tomlinson, the Minister for Immigration, almost coming in immediately and polling overwhelmingly negatively, really to show the disapproval of the Conservative. I think, again, the Conservative sort of members' view of their own party's immigration policy. Yeah, it really does not look good, especially when you're going into sort of a general election year. Overwhelmingly, these do not look good. These really, really do not look good when it comes to this. But that's our last visit to Conservative Home for the year. What wonders await us in next year? I can only think and dream of what bountiful provisions they are going to provide us next year. A lot of salt, that's for sure. But until then, we shall see you all, of course, very soon.